Hey guys, it's Dr. May. How are you? I hope things are going well on your end today. So I want to offer you some bonus material. This is not exactly in DBT, but it's actually a really important topic that's often discussed in mindfulness and spirituality circles, as well as in other types of psychology. And it's kind of related to some other DBT concepts. So the topic is compassion. All right. So we're going to do a little bit about that today. And I hope you like it. I think it's pretty beneficial, actually. So let's define it first, okay? So we know what we're talking about. All right, so compassion, if you break down the word into the roots, it literally means to suffer together. So past part of the word is from the root pati, which means suffer, and then kam, the beginning part, means together. So when we're with somebody and we're feeling their pain a little bit with them, and we're offering them kindness, that's about compassion, right? So this is very important in our interpersonal relationships, especially supportive relationships. So part of our goals, if you think about it, is to be with people who can offer us compassion and to also be able to offer compassion to other people. And it's similar to empathy, because that's a word we often talk about, and empathy is similar to validation, which we talk about in DBT. So empathy is similar. It means to feel with. So compassion is to suffer with or suffer together, and empathy is just to feel with. So it's like being able to resonate with the person and get a sense of what they're feeling and to experience a little bit of yourself and then communicate it to that person. So the path part of empathy is from the root pathos, which could mean feeling or disease, like pathology, right? And M means with. So it's literally means to feel with. Okay, so they're kind of similar, but a little bit different. All right, but today we're going to mostly focus on compassion. Okay, so just to kind of tie it into some DBT stuff, so it's similar to the give skill, which is from interpersonal effectiveness. So that one's all about keeping good relationships. And when you offer compassion to somebody and you're with them in their moment of need, it really can help to build a relationship. All right. It's also similar to radical acceptance because you're showing the person that you're accepting them in this moment with whatever they're feeling, with whatever the pain it is that they're having right now. It's similar to mindfulness. And if you remember, mindfulness has three key components: focused attention, open awareness, and kind intention. So especially the first one and the third one are similar to compassion because you need to focus on and be with the person, excuse me, and then you have to have a kind intention toward them. So not just to feel their pain, but to also offer them kindness because of their pain. And in the distract with accept skill from distress tolerance, it's kind of related to the contributing skill, which is offering something to somebody else in order to take your mind off of yourself and your own issues, right? So this is kind of like, thinking about someone else, putting ourselves in their shoes, trying to, be with them in their pain instead of just focusing on our own pain. All right, so see how this all ties together? Okay, so the first thing is I'm going to offer some steps about how we offer people compassion, right? So what does this mean, and how do we actually do this, right? So let's figure this out together, okay? There's actually some specific things we can do. So one is just to become aware of pain and suffering. So this involves mindfulness, right? Because you have to actually observe it. You have to open your eyes to it and be willing to see it. And, just kind of take it all in, right? Because if you're not aware of it, how could you go to the next step, right? So the next thing is, after you notice it, is to feel a sense of care, concern, or connection with the person who's suffering, right? So, once you see what the pain is, you kind of like, it stirs up a feeling of like, wow, that must really hurt. I'm concerned about that person, right? I feel like I could maybe even relate to that person a little bit, right? So maybe there's some part of their experience that's it's similar to something I've been through. So I can kind of connect to them on that feeling level or that experience level, you know? Um, and I like how they say too, it's like you could see the human being behind the suffering, that you're not just turned off by maybe their outer appearance, but you could kind of see beyond that in a validating kind of way and see that, in a deeply human way, they're kind of like you behind all that, right? That's the validation part, like looking beneath the surface and seeing that deep humanity inside. And remembering that this person suffers just like you, right? That there's a connection here, that they're not just some weird, unique, oddball person that we should judge because they're so different and strange. There's some thread that's similar to us, right? And when we suffer too, it's important for us to remember that there's other people that feel the same way we feel, who have been through the same thing we've been through. So one of the important threads that they talk about in mindfulness is interconnection. So compassion definitely plays on that interconnection because we're connecting in our pain instead of feeling isolated in our pain. And that's really important because there's so much more suffering when you feel pain and you feel alone, right? I mean, we all need each other. And it's also seeing some hope in the person, you know, that they're not just a lost cause, that, you know, I could see that maybe there's a way out of that pain, you know, even though they're suffering a lot right now. So that takes us to the next step. So when we see that suffering, it's up within us, and we feel like we want to do something about it. So we feel a desire to help relieve that suffering in some way, whether it's emotional suffering, physical suffering, whatever it happens to be. Like that girl is looking at those people and maybe they're homeless, maybe they're poor, they don't have money, and she feels like she needs to do something about it, right? So that's when we feel that action urge within us to help. Okay, so then the intention of wanting to help turns into an actual behavior. So it's actually being willing to do something. So let's say this guy in the picture is actually willing to help that homeless man by giving him a blanket and some water and maybe a few other items. But sometimes the response is not a material response. It's an emotional response, right? It might just be being willing to sit with the person and listen. And that's important in itself. Other times it may be like something concrete, but it doesn't always have to be, okay? And when you offer that, there has to be something within you that makes you feel like you're not helpless, that you're actually capable of making a difference for that person, or at least trying to, that your efforts will have some effect, you know? So it takes some willingness, like we talk about willingness in DBT, because it can be a little scary to maybe approach somebody like that because maybe you don't know what to say. You know, it's a homeless person maybe, or someone who's really in a lot of pain, and you know, you're afraid of doing the wrong thing. But being willing to just to show up and to try, and to try to help in whatever way you can, and maybe listen to what they need, can be really important. Okay. All right. So then after you do that, I hopefully you'll feel some kind of compassion satisfaction, that just the act of trying to help someone and be there for someone feels satisfying to you. Maybe they showed you some gratitude, or you could see the results of your actions, that it made a difference, and that can feel really good, okay? And so it's one of the highlights of connecting with people, you know, that we could feel like we're making a difference. So if they show you appreciation, allow yourself to take it in. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, no, it was nothing, you know, but when it's offered to us, it's okay to accept it. All right. All right. Another thing to do too is, in addition to us offering compassion to people, when other people offer compassion to us, that could be really beneficial as well. So we all need supportive people in our life, and we should do what we can to seek out some compassionate people, whether it's friends, family, therapist, or someone else in our life, right? Because those are the kind of people that we can reach out to perhaps when we need it, right? When we need someone just to listen or to help us out in some way. It's nice to be with somebody that won't judge us, that will, you know, be able to be with us in that time and not just run away when things get tough, okay? Some other things that compassionate people do is to like help us see the lesson in the pain. So this has to do with the meaning, which we saw in the improved skill. So finding meaning in the pain. So sometimes if we struggle to find it ourselves, a compassionate person can help us see that maybe there's something to be learned here. Maybe this happened for a reason, because I was meant to go through this to learn a certain lesson that I wouldn't have learned any other way. And that's a real gift that someone can give to us to help us see that. And they also emphasize that they're not someone who's trying to take advantage of us and helping us, that they stand squarely in their power and help us to re-feel and regain our own power. So they empower us to get through a tough time. They don't just coddle us and, you know, walk us through it, you know, we're just passive participants, right? So they empower us to cope and to make it through, maybe even to use our DBT skills, who knows? Okay, and finally, if we can't find a compassionate person, but we need compassion, we certainly can offer compassion to ourselves. Now, there's a whole big field out there called self-compassion. And two big leaders in the field that you could look up are Kristen Neff and Chris Germer. And Kristen Neff, I know for sure, has some YouTube videos and TED Talks on self-compassion. So if you're interested in more about that, they're definitely worth checking out. She's very clear in the way she describes it. But she emphasizes that there's 3 different core components of self-compassion. So one is mindfulness, right? So here's mindfulness again. So tuning into ourselves and being aware of our pain and our suffering. What does that feel for us? You know, what emotions are there? You know, what are we going through, right? So allowing us to see that and feel that. Then after we're aware of it, we offer ourselves the self-kindness. Remember that other aspect of mindfulness, right? Kind intention. So we're going to take that kind intention, and instead of offering it to someone else, as in the other part of compassion, right? The interpersonal compassion, we're going to offer ourselves the kindness, right? So she suggests maybe certain self-statements like, wow, this is really hard for me right now, or this is a moment of suffering. I recognize how difficult this is for myself, right? And she said maybe even a gesture of kindness, like hands on the heart, you know, which kind of communicates through our body to our mind that we're offering ourselves that kindness. And also, it's important to remember our interconnectedness, right? So remembering that we're not the only one going through this right now, that I'm not alone in my suffering, that even if I don't have another person right now in the room to support me, that there's many other people right now feeling just the way I feel, right? So if I'm sad, there's probably millions of people that are sad right now, right? So we're all interconnected in our suffering. And there's no experience that I've had that someone else in this world has not had before. So that's also a sense of connection too, right? So we could feel that connection, and that's part of the mindfulness as well. And there's a whole lot of healing benefits of self-compassion. And she has a whole book, Kristen Neff, that goes over so much research about how important this is for us in all different kinds of ways. Going through all those ways is a little beyond the scope of this presentation, but I'm still going to share with you some benefits of compassion. But first, I'm going to go over, some obstacles to compassion. I forgot the order I had here. So what makes it hard to be compassionate, right? So these are some things that maybe could get in the way. So it's important for us to be aware of this, okay? Because maybe the awareness could help us overcome the obstacles. So one is having a bias about other people or groups. So for example, and I don't personally feel this way, but let's say some people feel compassionate toward their group, but not so compassionate toward some outside group. So let's say I'm compassionate toward Christian people, but not Jewish people. Or I'm compassionate toward white people, but not Black people. Or I'm compassionate toward Americans, but not foreigners. See how that works, right? That I carve out who's worth being compassionate toward. Now, ultimately, it's important to say that everyone, just by virtue of being a human being, is someone who can be offered compassion. But it's very challenging for us to get past our biases to do that. But we can at least recognize them and try to work with them, okay? Sometimes we might feel like, I feel bad for this person, or I see the suffering, but I have no idea how to help. I don't think I have the resources, I don't have the money, I don't have the time, and therefore I just kind of give up. And sometimes that gets in the way of compassion, just because we feel a little helpless about it. Or it's such a big problem, like I don't even know how I can make a dent in that. Okay. Another thing that gets in the way is intense emotions such as depression. So when you feel like self-isolating because you're suffering so much with a difficult emotion, it's very hard to reach out. You kind of like close in on yourself and try to, and you end up focusing on your pain. So that's why in the distraction skills, they offer compassion as something to get you out of your head. But it takes a lot of effort to do that, right? Because the tendency is to want to like close in and focus on your anxiety or whatever's going on. Okay, another thing is being distracted or being in a hurry. And it's funny because they actually did a study where there was a bunch of monks that they gave them a class on compassion, and then they told them you have to go somewhere across this campus, and some of them were told they're going to be late, and some of them told they had plenty of time. So the monks who thought they were going to be late passed a fake homeless guy on their way and just walked right past him. And the monks that thought they had plenty of time stopped and maybe gave him $1 or talked to him or something like that. So actually, some monks, you think, but they're holy people. They should stop no matter what. But when they were in a hurry, they weren't as compassionate as when they weren't in a hurry, right? So if we don't feel like we have the time, it's hard to really go through that compassionate process. Okay, and also, if we feel overwhelmed, like if there's so much going on in our life, or we're afraid, like if I just take on other people's pain, it's just going to tip me over the edge, we might put up a wall rather than try to be with someone in their pain, right? Like that woman, she looks like she has a million things going on at work or whatever, like if she had to then go and do some caretaking at home, it might just be way too much, especially in that moment. All right, so those are some things that could get in the way. Okay, another thing to talk about, you might have heard this term before, compassion fatigue. So that's like, when you spend so much time caretaking someone else that you start to feel burned out. So let's say this woman in the picture is caretaking for a husband with dementia or Alzheimer's, and she has to take care of almost all his needs and has very little help, and she has to do this all day long, all night long, and he barely responds, or maybe he complains, or he's moody, and it just wears you down, right? So that's when the self-care needs to come in. That it's very important to balance things out and give yourself a break and refuel in some way so that it's not too overwhelming, okay? And then some of the benefits of compassion have more room to manifest themselves in your life. Okay, so benefits of compassion, right? So these are some of the highlights. I want to end on a positive note. So they actually say that compassion has physical benefits, right? So when you're compassionate and helping people in an altruistic, selfless kind of a way, it helps with what they call neural integration, which is like when things in your brain are both differentiated and linked together so that there's good communication in all different aspects of your brain. And that's one of the healthiest things that can happen to your brain, right? So the compassion helps build that. It also helps our immune system. So we're less likely to get sick when we're, exposed to other germs and illnesses. And compassionate people actually live longer. So they even talk about volunteer work. If people give only maybe 40 hours of volunteer work a year, like their life expectancy starts to get so much longer. Like it doesn't even take that much, but it actually enhances life expectancy. And also, acts of kindness tend to breed more acts of kindness, right? So when it feels good to do it, you tend to do it even more, right? And then we help each other, and that's really great. And it also promotes a sense of connectedness and relatedness while decreasing alienation, right? So alienation is associated with all kinds of negative measures of mental health and also addiction and target behaviors and all kinds of stuff like that. So feeling connected in a healthy way, which can be fueled by compassion, is one of the healthy things that we can do psychologically, right? And of course, physically. All right, so more benefits of compassion. So it enhances a general sense of well-being and resilience. So what does resilience mean? It means being able to bounce back from stress, right? Or some difficult trauma or hard times in your life. It improves our moral principles and it elevates you and others. So it's more of a moral thing to do. So when we consider other people, that's a higher level of morality than when we just think about ourselves, all right? And compassion is connected to hope, meaning, purpose, and awe. So those kind of like putting more meaning in your life, right? Making your life feel like it's worth something, maybe helping people is part of what gives you meaning. That's really great, right? If you feel like your life is pointless, you're not going to try that hard to get through it, right? Why bother? And awe is one of those things that make us feel so much more expanded, that life is so much bigger than just us, right? That there's a bigger purpose there, that there's, more miracles in life than less, okay? All that good stuff. And it also increases our happiness, and it actually triggers reward and pleasure centers in our brain. So it makes us feel good. Okay, so it double benefit. It helps others, but it also helps ourselves. Okay, and so that's the end. Hope that was helpful for you guys. All right, so I hope it inspires you to go out and be more compassionate toward others, and also give that compassion toward yourself. You know, we deserve it. We suffer enough, and we're often so hard on ourselves. And this is an important thing we can do to deal with pain in our own life. Okay, so thanks for listening, and I'll see you again soon. All right, bye guys.